Deliverance Church Langata. As you tell us a little bit about yourself,
Yes.
throw in something that we don't know about you, a fun fact.
Wow. Bishop Dr. Geoffrey Njuguna is my name. And I've been pastoring this Deliverance Church Langata for the last 32 years. I am very passionate about young people. The first assignment that I had when I joined Deliverance Church was being a region overseer of our youth. So up to this day, even at my age, I still have a very, very soft heart. And I always think about what can I do to empower the young people. I do not, what would be interesting in my journey is some of the experiences I've had to go through as a young person, and how I discovered long ago that usually God would test you to know your loyalty and commitment. And sometimes it comes when you suffer some very, very painful experiences. And in the journey of life, I've gone through some challenging times. This time I had a very serious attack on my own health. There's another, of course, the other factor that is, suffering a loss of a very loved, a loved one. Mm-hmm. And then, those are some of the things that make you know you are really human and you need God's grace.
Wonderful.
But I'm so excited that I have been involved. The other thing is that from my very, very formative stage of salvation, I was involved in ministries to schools and colleges. I've spoken in weekend challenges, even when it meant jumping into a matatu and going to a rally outside of town, traveling to Narok sometimes, traveling to Central, traveling to the eastern section, and I guess that's what really gave me such a good founding in terms of the youth. And also, people sometimes tell me, I think we like when you become a bit evangelistic, because I also was involved with a lot of open-air meetings. But I have now known my calling, my specific calling, is teaching and training leaders. And I have developed materials for that, and I also studied to a level to where I know I can be able to contribute something to society in terms of good governance. And there are a lot of people who are not worried about many things. Even when they things go wrong, they think it's, let's just adjust to this. But I'm one of those persons who is not afraid to articulate concern when I see bad governance.
Wow. And it shows. I mean, you being agile and moving all around, you're looking like a Gen Z. Now, Kenya has a crisis of integrity in leadership that manifests itself in trust deficit, corruption, negative ethnicity, and even poor service delivery. And we say that leadership renewal through integrity, truth and integrity, as a spiritual, moral, and national imperative must happen. So let me just dive in. And here I'm looking at defining integrity. So Bishop, what does integrity in leadership mean from both a biblical and civic perspective, briefly?
From a biblical perspective, integrity is adherence to God's principles in terms of morality, moral principles, because God, we know, is holy. And this is usually expressed through honesty, through faithfulness, and through consistency in how we address matters in terms of word and action. So that that word integrity, that word integrity actually carries the context of one and divided. So that your word remains like a bond. I mean, you cannot be able to be associated with dishonesty of any kind. You cannot be, associated. When we talk about God's morality, God's moral principles, adherence to God's moral principles, you're also talking about his truth. And like Jesus tells us, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And I think from a biblical perspective, because you see, this challenge of integrity is not just an issue, and I'll dive to the issues of civic later, but from the church aspect, because that's where I am, it is expected that we who are called to pastor and minister, we should always consistently remain honest and truthful. And I still remember, and one of our bishops who is now kind of emeritus, Bishop William Timison, who you know,
yes,
many years ago, he was addressing us in one of the Catholic centers here in Nairobi, and he said something that I've never forgotten. A simple statement, but it stuck with me. That every time you tell a lie, something dies in you. And I wish people can understand how important it is to be truthful, even as leaders. And I usually, also part of my philosophy in leadership, is that leadership is a trust between the leader and the led. And if you lose trust, you also lose the people, because people, the reason that they come faithfully, they listen to you, they shut everything else to listen to you, because they trust you. So I want to challenge those of us who are clergy, wherever you are, whether you're a bishop, you're a pastor, you're an evangelist, whatever you are, make sure that you are defined by truthfulness and honesty. Because when people discover that you are fake, you will lose them. And remember, when people are coming to listen to you and they can trust you, they give you everything. You even don't have to always think about how you're going to persuade them, because they believe that what you tell them, it becomes very important. When I was developing the building where we are now, I'll never forget how I used to be hard on the contractor, the person we had given for the work. Because I was telling him, the reason this congregation will give me money so that this building can go up is that when I tell them, within the next week, this is what you will see. Within the next 2 weeks, this is what you see. If they come and not see it, you as a contractor are nowhere.
It is you.
I'm the one, you're putting my credibility at stake. Yeah. So I think that's very, very important. So honesty and truthfulness from a biblical perspective. The other thing that is so critical is that aspect of being consistent. Because again, consistency in our actions and in the things that we stand for becomes very, very important. That you're not somebody who is, who cannot be, you are so unpredictable in the sense that people don't know, whether you are going to follow through in what you stand. Those are issues of integrity. Being a person, whether you are in public or you are private. You see, the integrity is doing the right thing, whether you're in the public eye or you are alone. It's huge. Then, of course, there's that aspect of, faithfulness and loyalty. Faithfulness and loyalty, particularly to God. You know the reason that God rejected Saul. And he was very, very categorical when he rejected Saul. And even when Saul was challenged about his unfaithfulness and his disloyalty, he tried to negotiate, but it was too late. Because God told him that I found a person. And that's what we find in the book of Acts 11:22, another Acts 13:22, that I have found in David. This was a testimony of the Lord. That I found in David a man after my own heart who will do all my will. But the reason for rejection is that, this man Saul was not loyal. He had a very, very flawed character. Then he even assumes he can go and offer a sacrifice instead of waiting for the priest. As Samuel at the time. So faithfulness and loyalty. Then another thing that is so important, and I'm talking from a biblical perspective, is servanthood. Servanthood. Unlike what is in the political and sometimes in the corporate world, where the leader feels like they can only be the one to be served, if we follow the example of Jesus Christ washed the disciples' feet. That was a mark, a huge mark of humility, that he could bear down and wash his disciples' feet. And when Peter was trying to resist, he was reprimanded. And then Peter was a very interesting person. He said, don't only wash my feet, but wash my whole body. Which was very, very interesting. So we are called, if you read the book of Titus or the book of Timothy, especially 1 Timothy chapter number 3, it does emphasize certain character credentials that every person who is serving in any position of leadership within the church, some basic issues, be a husband of one wife, somebody who is soon angry, there are so many things that are raised there. And of course, it talks about, having if you're lacing, your family itself should be part of your credentials. Of course, I would like to codify that. When your children are under your roof, they should feel and you should guide them to what they are. But also when they are gone there, you pray. You can only pray that they do not deny or challenge the things they have learned from you. So I think going back to a statement that was made by a man whose reputation we still hold, even if he is deceased, Dr. Billy Graham, he did say that if you lose money, you have lost nothing. If you lost your money, you have lost nothing. If you lose your health, you have lost something. But if you lose your character,
you lost everything.
You have lost everything. So I would like people who are like me, who are bishops, who are pastors, to put out a premium in their own way of life, so that we can be able to be said to live above reproach. And it's not that we are not going to face temptations, especially the common three. Because, there are three common things that destroy.
Yes.
One of these has to do with pride, and the other one has to do with your attitude towards money. And the other thing is how you handle your relationship with women. And to remember easily, they talk about gold, girls, and glory. Those things, as a man of God or a servant of God, you really need to be very, very careful. What attitude? How are you going to handle yourself so that you are above reproach in the manner that you handle finances? And I've seen people who could really, really be very high, leaders in terms of what even we call in our leadership summit, level 5 leadership.
Yes.
A lot of people are unable to hit the level 5 leadership because I look at what I'm doing and what I am bringing to myself in terms of resources, and I feel I'm only secure in that position. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But a leader who becomes level 5 is the one who can leave something that is very successful and be willing to go to the next level, even when they're not certain how it will turn out. And we have a very great example in the current president of the Global Leadership Network.
Oh, yes.
He had such a successful ministry, such a huge ministry, a church with so many people, and then God tells him to leave it behind. And within our own self, naturally, there'll be a sense of insecurity.
But you want to hang on to it.
But if you are bold enough to say, I'm going to the next level. And let me be honest with you. I think one of the things that even challenges us, and I know I'm saying this online, even when, like for me, I would need to come to a place in which I'm able to hand over my senior position in Deliverance Church to my son and be willing to serve in another level. There is that aspect, that is my son going to, do what I expect? But it's inevitable. And that's why even in our leadership development training, we are getting people to understand the value of herding and focusing on the younger people. Now, let me move to the next thing that I think is very important when we now go to the political angle. That's what I call, in my context, the civic. The civic. Now, when you go to the civic leadership, there are several things that now becomes, again, very, very, very important. And for those people within the political space, you need to understand that what is so important for you is becoming trustworthy and dependable. If people cannot trust you, you have lost them. And the idea here is, as a civic leader, how do you build that trust? Integrity. And that is what we are trying to challenge our leadership within, whether you are an MCA, whether you are a member of parliament, whether you are a senator, whether you are a governor. I stop to the highest office, which of course is the presidency. That the question that is so important here, trust and being dependable. The other thing is transparency and accountability. I feel bad when I see in the Transparency International an index where it says that Kenya is ranked 121 out of 180 countries.
We're doing badly.
It can't be bad than that. Especially, it can't be worse than that, because you're talking about a country where we pride ourselves of being 80% Christian. So, and like somebody says, then are you telling me that even Christians are corrupt? Because this is a very huge percentage. There's no way these numbers can be this if only 20% were the corrupt and everybody else is not. So this issue about civic leaders with integrity, and especially in the manner of handling resources, and of course, there has been a very big cry, and someone I think raised it in the recent meeting we had with in the Evangelical Alliance, and we also raised it, I believe, in our leadership forums, that corruption. We always talk about corruption. Any president that has come to office has promised us, all that I can remember, the issue of corruption. And I want to bring a biblical passage. The book of Proverbs, chapter number 15 and verse 27 says, "The greedy brings ruin to his household." Think about that. That goes beyond you.
Yes.
The greedy. And says that, but the one who hates bribes will live. If we can have enough leaders in this country at any level of leadership who hate bribes, because it is the word of God, and you need, if you hate bribes, you will leave. But on the contrary, if you love bribes, then you know what that means. On the contrary, it means you will die. Now, another passage I think is very, very instructive on this is Micah, chapter number 3, verse number 11. And this also points to us who are clergy. Because in this context it says, her leaders judge for a bribe. Her leaders judge for a bribe. Her princes teach for a price. And then her prophets tell fortune for money. This is false prophecy. Because there's something I want from you. So I tell you something that is very, very, very appetizing, and something that inflates your ego or whatever, so that, because there's something I'm looking from you. But what's also important about that is also the statement to the effect that yet they say, and this is what they tell themselves, the Lord will support us. And they say, is not the Lord among us. But let me put it this way. God can never be compromised.
No.
God is truthful. So as I speak about that issue about the country and our leaders, in any case, what does the Bible tell us in the book of Luke chapter 12 verse 15? That one's life does not consist in the things that one possesses. Why do we continue to have a country where no matter what we say about a fight against corruption, we're still having corrupt leaders? I remember recently, and I'm sure you watched when Bishop Oginde made a prayer in the house on the hill. I mean, that was a very radical prayer. And that's why I think after that is when we started seeing, some of the things happening. I said, no, those things should continue. So I think I've touched about also the other thing in civic, since I know whether we'll go back to that, is ethical decision making.
Right.
Integrity serves as a moral compass. Integrity serves as a moral compass. Any decision I make should express my moral values. Because that is the deficit. In fact, corruption is a moral issue and is an issue also of the heart. And it's so important that we as leaders can make decisions that show that it's not just about ourselves. It's about the community that we represent. We need to honor ethical principles. And of course, the other thing is upholding the rule of law. One of the things that surprises me is when somebody is in leadership and you know the law, because most of them are actually professional lawyers. Of course, we have some who are business people and others. But in the National Assembly and in most constitutional offices, people have studied the law, and we need to have leaders who we know will uphold the rule of law, and of course, have a way of promoting the culture of integrity. Because there's a culture. And remember, whoever controls the culture rules the house.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Now, even as we progress on then, and you have touched on the different perspectives of what it is in matters integrity. If then, when you look at Kenya today,
yeah,
where do you see the most glaring gaps in integrity? When you look at government, community, and even church,
yeah,
where do you see these gaps?
I see gaps particularly in the manner in which sometimes we use our leadership position to only think about our interests. And I have had many times, and I'm so impressed in one of the interviews, the interactive interviews we held during the conference of the evangelicals. This is somebody who impressed me greatly, and I pray that God bless his soul and helps him to do the things he is doing. And this is the CEO of Kenya Airways, who said how he secures himself to make sure he does not forget the values that keep him. He spoke about regular meetings, a group of 5 people who is very close and accountable to, then another larger group. And the fact that he's committed, and this is where things go wrong. Because any people who have destroyed their faith and testimony is when you go to that high position, and they say the higher you go, the cooler it becomes.
Yeah.
But in every society, there'll be people who are there, who still have the faith. They just need to be encouraged. And the only way to do that is to find people so that you can encourage each other, pray for one another, share some of the frustrations. But I feel sorry that a lot of people who are fallen by the wayside, they failed to network. Even for us who are pastors, one of the greatest joy that I have is that I have people who are like my accountability partners. I have ministers who I can talk to freely, and who I'm not, even if I'm having a struggle within it, I can share with them, because that is very, very important. So there is that accountability aspect. People who can speak truthfully to you. And one of the struggles we have had along the way, and maybe it's something you may raise as we continue, is sometimes we find it so difficult to even sometimes speak truth to power, because if we pointed to them, we would be having the other fingers pointing at us.
At you more.
And we know also there are issues. There are issues that we are not doing what is expected. So I see in the church, one of the areas which I think a lot of us need help is how we become more accountable in the way we handle the finances and manage the resources that are entrusted to us by the congregations or those who serve in higher offices. How you handling money that is at your disposal? Can it be said that you have a selfish interest of diverting anything to your interest instead of the interest of the office that you serve? And in other words, other people that you are supposed to be able to benefit with the resources that come within the political scene. Is the way that you always, of course, you live in this country, and you know how people, when they go into a certain position, they say it is our time to eat. Those who are there were eating. So now it's our time to do what?
To eat.
To eat. And that is why sometimes we are accused of becoming a man-eater society, because whereas there are levels where people are in abject poverty and frustration, the other side, there are people who are living is extreme. I mean, so that sometimes when they talk about, if you look at the wealth in Kenya, we have always discussed this, and sometimes it has been used even in the political scene about the gap between the rich and the poor.
The have and the have not.
The have and have not. And you have seen the kind of noise that have been there now, especially because of the expectation that was there about raising the Mama Bogas
to come up,
which was a very great principle, and I believe it's still great. And I pray, that something good may still come. This city, I don't know how far you have gone around this city. This city has people who live in very, very, very different extremes. Recently, I had a reason to go to Lakisama. And you have lived in Nairobi all this year, but I've never been to Lakisama. And then someone was telling me about Korogosho and Babadogo, which are some of the slum areas. Of course, not to forget that Kibra, which is very close to us, is considered to be one of the largest slums in sub-Saharan Africa. But I'm saying, can something be done? I remember during the Mwai Kibaki administration, and God bless his soul, he's already posthumous, I'm talking about it, posthumous, that he started bringing transformation in Kibera and built some houses and actually even moved some people from the slums to the houses he developed, which are on the upper side of the southern bypass. But surprisingly, these people could not stay there. They started releasing those houses so that they can go back to where?
Back to the slums.
Go back to the slums. Because all their life, they are now used to a slum kind of life. And that is why I appreciate a friend of mine from Ghana, I believe it was Ghana, who said in a meeting we were in Nyayo Stadium that you cannot take people from the slums until you take the slums out of them. And I think that's what needs to happen in our civic training before we build houses. Because remember, I don't know if you can remember, because I'm sure you should. There's one time a certain international organization wanted to upgrade the Mathare Valley slums.
Yes.
And those people were resisted. I still remember that time. And I know there has been a dream, and I've appreciate one of the dreams that the president has had, is to rehabilitate so that people you can raise the dignity of people in part of the housing project, though it has a lot of controversy because of the housing levy. But how great it can be that people's dignity can be, even like Kibra, if they allowed the government to move them somewhere else, so that that land can also be the place where these high-rise, I don't know whether you've been to South Korea, but the people live within residential areas that are raised and also administered well. And there's no reason why, if we dealt with the corruption issue,
yes,
this is my position, and I can say this, and I know we are near. If the corruption issue was dealt with firmly, we will not even need to necessarily charge people housing levy. There will be enough money to still do what the government is doing today. But now we have to go to this option of having to all of us contribute so that these houses can continue. But I want to challenge the people who are charged with the responsibility of ensuring that corruption is dealt with firmly. And it's not just, it doesn't remain a slogan in every election, fight against the corruption. And I would like to see some of the people, you see that there's several cases that have been mentioned where we are all waiting.
We want action.
We want action, not just the talk. So I think...
and it's interesting you say that, because
there
are those leaders who profess faith. And when I talk about faith here, unapologetically, I mean the Christian faith. Why do leaders who profess faith still fall into corruption, ethnic bias, and betrayal of public trust? And while you're at it, you would wish to respond to whether Kenya is suffering from a moral failure more than a political one. So, leaders who profess the faith, why is it that they fall into corruption, ethnic bias, and betrayal?
You see, one thing we observe is first to examine our system of leadership. Because systems or leadership sometimes can be able to endure certain things, especially when you talk about what is called, because there are several types of government, but one of it is, of course, the authoritarian kind. There's also the democratic leadership. Then we can go to sovereign leadership, but the challenge of the authoritarian leadership, which is usually top down, it is where authority is just maybe centralized in one person or just a few up there, and no matter what noise you make down there, it doesn't matter because they think that yours should be to align. But we really need to, when I think you ask about Kenya, what is the issue? You ask me whether it's moral or whether it's political.
Yes.
I think it's both moral and political. Number one, why I say it's moral is because corruption is a moral issue. It's a moral issue. If somebody, and I want you to understand that I recently listened to the chairman of the anti-corruption, EACC, tell the country that in their ranking, they still found our police officers to rank very highly in corruption. And you know very well that sometimes the manner some of the police officers behave is as if they are collecting tax. I mean, they don't think there's anything wrong in you leaving money in their hands. And also for us as Kenyans, if you are involved with a traffic offense, if the only way you are not going to waste time by having to take that charge and whatever, you also take pressure at giving that police something so that they let you go. Because if they hold you, then there are a lot of things you consider will go wrong. And I think I had a testimony not long ago. I think it was recently when we were having this Evangelical Alliance anniversary celebrations. You had what, I don't know if you were there when the former governor of Makueni,
yes, Kivutha,
yes, was saying the trouble he went to. And that's now it touches on the political aspect. When MCAs told him, listen, we are demanding this. Before we go to the public, at least for us, this is what we want. This money that is coming here. And there was a very serious struggle with the MCs until it became, they said they were going to impeach him. And I think he came to a point and said, okay, go ahead.
We all go home.
Yeah, we all go home. and I thank God for the leader at the time, because I think this was during the Uhuru administration. Was it Uhuru or Kibaki administration?
The very first, that was Uhuru.
Uhuru, yeah, okay.
The first.
And he did not encourage them to go to that direction. So what I'm saying is, when the election was repeated, all the MCAs were rejected.
Yes.
Except, I think, 2 or 3.
A handful.
A handful. Why? Because the governor decided to start to his guns. This money is for the benefit
of the people.
And I pray that we can have more governors like him who say, I don't want to treat this as my time to eat. But remember, if someone is going to be like that, you're talking about morality that has been cultivated from very far. And as I think about the need of dealing with corruption, my proposal would be we begin teaching corruption, condemning corruption from a very early formative stage of a child, as soon, maybe even grade 2. Get in the curriculum of education something that demonizes corruption. And I've also been saying, I'm one of those people who feel like people are now used to the word corruption and it seems like it's not a big deal. Why don't we consider asking our politicians to change that name to public theft?
Because it's been sanitized.
Yeah, because if you say public theft, nobody wants to be called a thief. But actually, if you're taking advantage of a fund that is supposed to benefit a people,
you've stolen.
You have stolen.
It's what it is.
That's what it is. It's public theft. And we keep year after year getting this very, very, very dirtily, or rather, some indictment made against our leadership from the Auditor General, from the Controller of Budgets. And I must say, from where I started, those women have done very well.
Yeah, and they stick
to their guns. Yes. They stick to their guns. I know they're unpopular.
But they do.
But who say that you have to be popular when you are doing what is the right thing? I think there are a lot of people who celebrate them for calling it for what it is. And I want to make an appeal to those within the political leadership. Let it not just be a matter of words. Let there be actions that can be seen. Remember recently the uproar that was there when the president challenged Parliament about their corruption. And you remember they saying, no, we are not the ones who corrupt. I think corruption is everywhere. You don't have even had some people even say there's corruption even in the judiciary. But this is not just be a talk.
It's action.
There's action. And if you have any substantive,
bring it forth.
In a way that somebody is held culpable, somebody is held to responsibility.
Now, while we're at it, it was interesting, and the one thing that is our enemy is time.
Yeah.
As we progress here.
Yeah.
And it seems self-leadership is the first test of integrity.
Yes.
It's very easy for me to point at you.
Yeah.
I'm pointing at you, but I forget self-leadership myself.
Yeah.
And Kenya is largely youthful, as Africa is indeed as a continent.
Yeah.
So then, how can young people who feel disillusioned, practically rise with integrity in their studies, work, and relationships. Because if we lose them now, we've lost the country.
I know what you're saying, but remember there's a survey that was done not long ago that say that our young people, a majority of them, because of seeing how like corruption has become something else, some people even become cerebrant because of how corrupt they are, that they say it for me now where I am, it doesn't matter what means.
By any means.
By any means.
Any means necessary.
Necessary. I would like to go for this money. And I think that, like we have said so clearly, if we are going to cultivate a culture of where corruption is demonized. There's this gentleman, a good friend of mine, who used to have a philosophy, and I thought, this philosophy, why can it be escalated to become a slogan that is used among even our young people, where we can say, ufisadi ni ushenzi. You remember Giroud? Yes.
I know that.
And if we said corruption is considered to be upumbavu or foolishness, that's a way of changing the mindset of the people to shift. And then we say integrity should be separated, because when you are a man or a woman of integrity, you are celebrated. So I think if we are going to really penetrate, we need to have a lot of NGOs and through the government machinery starting to calculate the value, the system of values, moral values from a very young age. And again, it even needs to start at home.
Yes.
It reminds me, I think I have a gentleman, a friend of mine, a close member of my family who lives and works in Dubai. And because of that issue of knowing that corruption is not good, cheating is not good, even if a parking opened and you had an advantage to enter it and somebody was indicating to go there, you can't go there.
Because
the child will tell you, no, Dad,
that's wrong.
You can't do this. You understand? But now we have problems, including our own leaders. Even in a church setup. I've passed that long enough and I've been surprised by actions that have been taken by people I entrusted with leadership. Do you understand? Issues that can only border on what can be condemned, because you see, when you become disloyal to a leader that has empowered you, that's a moral issue. Is that not true? And this goes not only within the church, but even within any other form of leadership. Going back to the challenges we have had with even the Gen Zs, and I've told you I have a very great heart for the young people. I think we need to help our young people to fear God. To fear God. Because some of the things that happen in the name of protests are completely godless. Is that not true? Yeah. And we need to know who are influencing them. Who are their influencers? Because I'll never forget, especially what happened in 2025 in June, and the pain that the country went through, and especially when Parliament was invaded. Because let me tell you something. No matter how aggrieved we are, a National Assembly is a sacred place. Do you understand? Just as a church, in the context of the spiritual, the National Assembly is a sacred place where laws are formulated and where people meet to discuss things of national importance. So I feel bad that people's properties were looted because it takes people very far back. And that's why sometimes I say, if it is in the name of demonstration that people who are so innocent, they lose their property. Somebody had a loan. All your business is rooted. In the name of what? Protest. Who has suffered? If you are condemning the government, is it the government that really has suffered? When Kenyans who are innocent, who are also hustlers, lose their property. But worst of it also, turning on the other side, sometimes we see also our police, how sometimes they also don't demonstrate responsibility, because we also have seen situations where they have been accused of using the gun in a bad way. Even when their lives is not threatened. Like now, I remember in one of the demonstrations that took place this year, I think it was in June, there's a police who shot a man on Moi Avenue who had nothing. You remember that case?
Yes.
So, and all this has to do with morality. So, if we started teaching our young people in high school, in wherever they are, even when they become police officers,
then it will be ingrained in them as they
it will be ingrained in them.
Right.
That's why I'm saying that even for us in church, from the Sunday school, from everywhere, can we change the culture? Because whoever rules the culture or controls the culture rules.
In fact, now even as we progress on, and time is not on our side, what role should the church play in speaking truth to power without fear or compromise? Very briefly.
I want to say that that should happen because it is morally wrong for us in church leadership to be accused of compromising the truth by failing to talk truth to power. And that is why in our relationships with the people that are in authority, we should make sure that we keep a safe distance and a safe boundary to where we cannot hesitate to point out what we think is wrong. I was very impressed when the president said in the Evangelical Alliance celebration yesterday that he would like to meet the leaders for more conversation. And I think we should not hesitate, because sometimes the president would be speaking from here, but I still believe there's some things that the church leaders can do. And we have done that before. I've been involved in meetings in the former administration, the Uhuru administration, when I was in a company of very senior clergy that went and spoke to the former president things that were not very comfortable, but we pointed them out. Even for the current president, we know he does acknowledge that some of us prayed him into power, which is true, but I think we would be very happy to have a candid conversation with him so that we can tell him what we are hearing in the ground. Because again, sometimes when we go to the press, there should be two ways of communicating with the head of state, because you have to keep his dignity. I don't like the way sometimes people handle a person who is holding that kind of office. Some of the things I see in social media, they're so detestable. Do you know what I'm saying? So my thinking is that I wish the president can open to where we can have opportunities. And one time they had promised to structure it so that there's something happening from time to time, where we go there, not that we are going to collect money, but we are going to talk candidly. I think this is very, very important.
So then,
truth to power.
Truth to power is very key, very important.
And then again, since we don't want to lose a very, very important thing, we, as part of the Global Leadership Summit, and I've been involved in the Global Leadership Summit for more than 10 years now.
Yes.
Since we started it here at the North Baptist Valley Road, and now we are in Sitam Karen. And I think I'm one of the elderly person who has stayed on. Some of my colleagues, took a break because it's demanding also.
Yes.
But for me, the reason I've stayed on is because of my passion for leadership and good governance. So we are having an event coming up.
What can one expect? And
during the 2nd and the 3rd of October, We are appealing for people from all walks of life. This is not necessarily a Christian, necessarily in quote. We do everything Christian, but we invite all leaders.
Society.
From the political, from the corporate, from every sector of our society. If you can register, the registration is only 2,000, and it will give you a handbook. It will give you exposure to some of the most celebrated speakers, John Maxwell, someone like and other speakers we line up, like the president of the Global Leadership Network.
The Chief Justice will be there.
The Chief Justice will be there.
Bishop Muheria.
Then Bishop Muheria will be there. Our very own director, Mairore, will be there. I do assist him. We all are going to be there. And the objective every year is also to target the youth fraternity. If you are a young person in college, your registration, and there is a certain way you can communicate to us, will only be 150, and then you are given a scholarship of 1,850, so that you can benefit in the 2 days conference. I'm really hoping that we can have half of the people who will be there this time to be young people.
Now, give me one line.
Yeah.
If every Kenyan watching were to do that one thing differently tomorrow, to contribute to leadership renewal in this country, what should it be? One line.
One line is for you to be an example yourself, to live the life and to ensure you adhere to God moral principles of value, and that you are faithful, you are honest, and you are consistent. If you do that, it will be possible for you to tell others. Because when you are not living a certain way of life, then you lose the moral authority or the moral credence to tell others.
Indeed. My conversation with Bishop Dr. Geoffrey Njuguna has shown us that integrity is the backbone of leadership renewal in our nation, Kenya. First, integrity starts with self-leadership, choosing what is right, even when no one is watching.
Yes.
Before we ask it of others, we must practice it ourselves. Second, families, schools, churches carry the responsibility of shaping tomorrow's leaders.
Yes.
If we want leaders who stand above corruption and tribalism, we must nurture them today with values that endure. Third, systems of leadership and government must change so that honesty is rewarded and corruption is punished. The church and civic voices cannot stay silent. They must speak truth to power with courage and conviction. And finally, we must hold on to hope that Kenya can rise. If every citizen commits to truth in their daily lives, and if leaders in every sector stand tall in integrity, then truly our nation will rise. Because a nation rises when its leaders stand tall in truth.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We appreciate and don't take the privilege of your time for granted. Asante sana, Bishop.
Amen. Amen. So glad to come. And I'm always available.
Asante sana.
Let me know when we can continue.
We shall do so. We shall do so. My name is Edmund Mudibo. Let's do this next time. Stay well. Stay safe. God bless.
Amen.
See you at GLS.
Amen.